Okay, thank you for your patience and waiting for about 20 minutes, 16 minutes to be precise. And I apologize for the delay. My name is Tshube, Tshube. I'm gonna talk about the solo runner. I have Coach JD introduce himself, and then Makwala, I think he should be here also. You'll introduce himself, and then we continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 11:20 here, almost close to midnight. I don't know if you can all see me.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justice Dipeba. I work at the University of Botswana on the Department of Culture, Sports and Recreation. Also track and field national coach. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And maybe most of the time I work with Dr. Tshube and I coach Isaac. I've been coaching Isaac for the past 12 years now. Yeah, and then I've done all the what you call the major games, the Olympics and the World Championships, the Commonwealth Games, and other major championships in the African continent. Coaching at the highest level. I'm qualified world athletics elite coach, specialized in sprints and relays. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Maybe you can reach out to Batman and see if he can be able to join. If he's maybe struggling to join, and then you let us know.
All right, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. That's Coach JD. As he indicated, his coach is Isaac Makwala. So, you know, I have a couple of pictures that will direct the conversation we'll have today. But I want to start by indicating why I felt it was important for me to write and tell the story. The writing part took about 2 years, and I had been at the University of Botswana, I think, for about maybe 4 years, and I was doing the same thing. I was writing papers, I was teaching and doing community work, but there was just a kind of monotony, you know. And I looked for something different and something to challenge me. Then I approached Isaac and said, I think you have an amazing story. We should put your story in a book. And I must indicate, the first time I met him, he was like, yeah, but I could tell he wasn't really in it. He didn't think it was a good idea. And then 3 weeks later, I reached out to him again, and we met at a coffee shop, and I told him we should do this. And I had some budget for it, and he said, okay, let's go for it. And we started on it. And I remember I told him, if there's someone whom you believe can tell the story better, because your story needs to be told, let's let that person tell the story, and I can support them in doing that. Then we agreed that, okay, let's tell this story. And because we felt his story, and you will see as we engage in this, that it's important for his story to be told. Also, I wanted something that can challenge me as well, something kind of difficult, you know? So I know publishing is difficult and things like that, but I wanted something outside kind of my normal realm, and I took on the challenge. That was for those 3 reasons: to tell the story, and also to be challenged myself, as well as to do something different from the usual work that I normally do. So immediately after we agreed, and then we started on a journey. And I always want to indicate that this book is dedicated to this guy here. His name is, people in athletics call him Chovas. He's from Tshube, so about 40 kilometers from Gaborone. So because in track and field, people, you know, there are a lot of nicknames, and some will be called the Batman, the other one would be called Coach JD, the other one we call him Chovas, a captain or whatever. So his name, he passed when he was in Chovas. He passed at the University of Botswana Stadium one training day. On a normal day, he's training. They are doing 150-meter races. He comes into the finish line. He then walks towards the standpipe to drink water, and he collapses, and people try to resuscitate him, and he passes. And he died a very, very painful death. But he loved track so much and died on the track, which was so this shows the contents of the book. The first part of the book talks about the introduction, talks about Botswana itself, like where Botswana is and key landmarks in Botswana. And then the second part talks about what we call the village board, from village to a rural community. Talks about Makwala being in the village and growing up in the most remote area. And I have a couple of pictures that show, and that will talk a little bit about it. And then the other part talks about primary and secondary school, like where he began going to primary school. And we have some pictures that will speak to some of those. And then the beginning of an athletic career started in 2006. You will see as we engaged and for him, it was very interesting. And I hope you're able to log in and talk about this. Typically, athletes go through, like you run track in primary school, then go to junior school, go to senior school, go to college, but for him, even though he went to primary school and junior school, he was not the most profound at that level. Then went to a brigade, and then when he was at a brigade, then he joined the national team, and you'll see as we continue talking about it. And then his peak performance, some of the most highlights in his athletic career, and I'll let the coach speak to it in a little bit. It's winning an Olympic medal in Tokyo, winning a bronze medal in the relay 4x4, and then winning a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, and winning the Diamond League trophy in 2017. I think those are some of the pinnacle of the highest performance, and obviously breaking the Africa record twice. And then being the national team captain, so that section talks about like how he was providing leadership in the national team, and he's been a national team captain for about 10 years in his athletic career. And then Isaac Makwala and then Olympic Games versus Diamond League races. This is like an ongoing debate in Botswana, and mostly most of African athletes to say, do you want to prepare for the Olympic Games and win an Olympic medal? The Olympic Games, you don't win money at the Olympic Games. It's good, you get a good medal, you get good airtime and good glory, but you don't win any cash. And if you are from Botswana, the government gives you, I think, 100,000, which is about $10,000. And that's all you get. You can get lucky and get endorsements, but a small number of athletes in Botswana have got an endorsement, maybe only one, if they have. So do you want to do that? Or you go to the Diamond League where you do an appearance fee. Maybe you get 5,000 euros for appearing. And if you win another 5,000 or 10,000, so for just one race. And if you do 10 of those, you can make pretty good amount of money. So athletes debate between these, but obviously countries don't want them to prepare for the Olympic Games, because that's where the glory is, and that's where countries are competing. So there's that debate in Botswana. What should athletes do? But also, if you do several Diamond League competitions, also you may lead to burnout also, because it's multiple races. So it's a very interesting debate. So in the book, we also talk about that and kind of make, like, put actual prices, that if you win a Diamond League trophy, not those individual Diamond League races, like how much money you get, and it's a lot of money. And then the section part A talks about him and the media. So very interesting. So in that section of the book, there's a journalist we give a pseudonym. We call her Dipuo. So if you're from Botswana, Dipuo means, how do you say it in English? Dr. G and left. Great, yeah. Like someone who spreads like gossip or something like that. Yeah. So because there was a very journalist that we wanted to write about, and we wanted to kind of navigate some legal challenges, but also tell the story exactly the way it is. So we looked for a very good name, and Dipuo sound like a really good fit. And everyone who has read the book, when they get to that part, they really call and say, "Oh, this one, you've gotten it very, very right. You've gotten it very well." Gossip. Yeah. So that section details like his interaction with the media, like the interviews he has done, some of the kind of struggles and disagreements with the media, and some of the, for example, one classical example, this journalist really followed him around, and the headlines were very, very provocative. Like one of the headlines said, "The boys humbled him," and this was at a national championship. And so very, very interesting headlines that the journalist was putting up. And we knew also the journalist was very close to a lot of other athletes, including him at some point. So we kind of trying to navigate some of those also. And then the BNSC Awards and Durban Africa Senior Championship. So that section, like all countries, they have like the sports awards that are done annually. And the sports awards typically is that they award people for previous year performance. So 2022 awards will give what happened in 2021, and it goes on like that. So Botswana is a very small country, very small, only 2 million people. So it's very easy to know what's happening around. So typically, people who win awards, if you know the awards are coming up, and typically they want those winning to come to the awards so they can receive the award. So if you are nominated and then you receive an email that, hey, do you want to come to the awards? Can we get you a ticket? It's always an indicator that you're going to get an award. But also you can also look to see, okay, this performance, I'm number one in the world. I'm ranked number one in the world. So Botswana includes the world. So I should get the award. So the 2015 awards, we were very sure that he was going to get the award. But we knew also that year that there were a lot of newspaper headlines, a lot of things happening in the media, that some people were not happy with maybe his conduct or his behavior and things like that. So it came to a time where it was a couple of weeks before the awards. Then the email comes, hey, do you want to come to the awards? And, sure, I'm going to come to the awards. Okay, we're going to fly you from this place, and then it's all set. And then now a week passes, there's no communication anymore about planning for the travel. And then it just blacks out. And then his coach reaches out and says, hey, you guys had said we are planning for a ticket to the award. Then they said, no, who said we are going to fly you to the award? So then it was clear there was not going to be an award. And then the person who gets the awards, this was very interesting because when I write in the book, I actually reached out to his coach and said, 2015 awards, Sportsman of the Year. You Isaac got the award. What do you think of it? And he said, I was shocked as you are. And that's literally actually in the book. And the coach says that. And he knew, because everyone knew who was in the sports circles that they probably didn't give him the award because they were not happy with something that probably had said or something like that. And since then, never went to the award and was very unhappy because of it. And then part 10, we think this is the most maybe detailed part of the book, also most intriguing, also most telling about some things that happened. So the solo run, that's in 2017, at the World Championships in 2017. So that's where he was barred from competing because he was suspected to have norovirus. That's a bug that causes people to vomit. And there was that bug going on during the games and in the build-up to the games in London. It was in London. So we have done our investigation on it, really dig deep and find. We have all the letters that are exchanged in the build-up to after he was banned from competing, exchanges between Botswana and World Athletics, as well as just all the news reports and the chronology of it. And we're able to put them in the book and kind of detail some of the conversation that happened. So one of the things that was very interesting was that World Athletics noticed that there was going to be the norovirus pretty early, and then called a meeting to say, can we all meet and discuss this? And all countries were invited. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, Botswana was not represented. And the meeting was in 2 venues. So that meeting, people agreed on what's going to happen, including a 48-hour quarantine and with rooms set for that. And obviously from that meeting, countries also have planned on what they would do if their athlete has the bug. But unfortunately for us, Makawala gets off the bus going into race and he vomits. And one of the officials sees him vomit. And that's one of the symptoms for norovirus. Then he walks him to a medical center and interviews him. From what we gathered from Makawala, and this is also in the book, and he said this all the time, that he didn't tell him that he was sick. It's typical for athletes to throw up prior to championship. It's very common. But what's in the report, was put in the report, was that he has been sick since the previous night. So that meant that he has to go on quarantine. And immediately that decision was taken to bar him from competing. And it made news headlines, CNN, BBC reported on it. And I think that maybe Botswana should really thank Michael Johnson, because he was the first person to speak really hard on it and say, well, athletes should explain exactly what happened, because there were athletes who, like one, I think he's a German athlete, I can't remember which country, actually collapsed. But he was allowed to continue. I think it was in triple jump or something. But Makawala was bad and he missed the 400 meters and he ended up doing the 200 meters. But in the build-up to the championship, he was very fit. He had run really great times in both 100 and 200 meters. So I would also allow Coach Jiri to speak to that part also. And then Commonwealth gold medal, and then part 12, maybe Kenya, Tokyo. So this is very interesting. And we can talk about COVID-19 because COVID-19, of course, caused a lot of problems. And we can never say COVID-19 was good. But because of the lockdowns and because of the postponement of the games, so that affected athlete careers in many ways. For example, Makawala had not qualified for an individual race for the Tokyo 2020. But because the games were postponed, so that gave him time to lengthen his career as well as be able to qualify and go compete at the Olympic Games. And also some family planning was a key factor in that part, and it discloses some very interesting personal information that he wants people to learn from. The only thing I can say about it is that, you know, like top athletes are very fit and very strong. But we all have vulnerabilities and we have some sides that we're not as strong in it. And we also have a lot of struggles. And strength does not necessarily translate to what always we assume to translate to. So if you read this section, it will provide some interesting details and give you a very interesting perspective of life. And then some lessons about leadership that we learned. So after we decided that we were gonna do the book, then we started on the research. The first thing I did, I got a research assistant for my graduate student, and then hired a photographer to travel with. And we took a University of Botswana 4x4 and drove. And in the book, that's how we narrate it. We talk about how we left the University of Botswana, drove. We indicate the kilometers to go to a place called Malelejwe. I don't know if let me know where Malelejwe is. Yes, Malelejwe, it's towards the west. Is it south? Is it okay? If you're going, Francis Town is the northeast, and northwest. Yeah, it's like towards northwest. Yes. So you drive to a small town called Suwata. That's where there's more civility in terms of modernity. And then you drive about 40 kilometers on a gravel road into like some parts of plains, but it's really a cattle post. And I learned this after the book was published. We did a book tour and went to spend time with the kind of city leadership for them. And the gentleman told us that that place, Malelejwe, cannot be developed because it's in a floodplain. So they cannot build any formal structure in a floodplain. So what it means is that people who are there, they get services through a mobile clinic. Like, I think a doctor comes every third Wednesday of the month or something like that. So then everything, they just bring in a whole clinic and then they service the people and then they drive back. And kids get bused beginning of the term to a different town and then they study and then they are bused back. So because I wanted to see really kind of exactly where he grew up and he was from, then we drove, we took a drive. So this picture was taken in Malelejwe. That's me, that's the gentleman there, it's his, in Setswana we say Mudisa. In English, you could say head boy. So he takes care of his cattle. That's really what it means. So that's him. So this was an interview discussing how he grew up in Malelejwe and the experiences. And I was able to interview him, the Mudisa, as well as Makwala also in the village. So and a lot of other people. So that guy, very interesting, funny guy. His name is B. So it was very interesting and was fascinated because he saw Makwala when Makwala lived there. And then I saw him as a world champion coming back to the village, totally a transformed person, a very, very different guy. Yeah, so after we've done the interviews and then we took a group picture and with the guys, and I think one of these pictures is there in the book also. So just a contrast, for example, if you had come in maybe 15 years earlier, Makwala would have looked like those guys. But if you fast forward now, he was standing there, he's Nike sponsor, you can say the gear, it's Nike. He's like a global icon and he flies business class and that he fits very, very well in that environment. So after we were in Malelejwe, then we went to his home village, which is Tshube, also in the northeast. So that's his father. During the interview, he was keen on talking immediately. And also in Botswana culture, when you get to a place, you greet, and immediately afterwards, they ask you exactly who your family is, where you're from, to fully know you first before they can do the interview. So the first thing he did, he questioned me first. And then we did the interview but on a sad note, the old man passed 3 days before the book launch, and we had to pause everything and then kind of restart afresh. Literally 3 days. We were going to pick some posters for the book, and we got a call, and everything had to stop. And also something to mention about him, he didn't want him to race. He didn't want him to run track at all. And he was like in the community where he's from, he's a leader, he provides leadership, he's revered in the community. And he was very adamant that no, you shouldn't do running at all. To the point, and we narrated this in the book very well, one day he took he knew that so Makawala was racing, but just behind his bag. So one day the old man learns that there's a meet in the village, and he observes Makawala in the morning, gets up and goes to school, and he knew he was going to the race. And then he takes his bike and he explains to me, very interesting, and it's also in the book, like how he dressed, took his bike and rode to the competition, and he gets there, he sees that he's with a lot of other kids, and he stays back and watches what's going to happen until they call the 400-meter race, and they see him come in, and he's like, can I stop him or can I wait and say, let me see how this plays out. And he sees the race takes off and goes in and he wins the race. And the old man is so emotional just watching him race. And then he rides his bike back home. And from the interview, I hope he will say, then I let him continue racing. Then I said, he tells me I called his parents, so he's from a polygamous family, so he has 2 mothers. So he calls both mothers and the kids and says, what I saw today should never happen. And tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go to school, give a clear order, this person should never race again. And he follows up on it. He goes to the school the following morning, tells the school principal, says, this person never to do track again. So you're gonna choose between track and school. So he's just gonna do school. So then the school now, they're disappointed, they don't know what to do. Then some people hear about it in the village, and then in the nearby village. So the history of Southern Africa. So people worked in the South African mines in the late 1800s. So he worked also in the South African mines. So he worked with a chief called Matafin Inswazi. He's my chief in my village. So they were friends there together. So, but they knew that this person had a lot of influence on him. So someone tells him that, you know, this guy is really talented, but his dad doesn't allow him to compete. Then the chief sends 2 people. They ride a bike, go to him and tell him, can you please let him race and his talent, and you won't regret in the future. And then because the chief had sent a whole delegation of 2 people to him, he's like, okay. And he doesn't tell them right there that, no, I agree. He says, okay, I've heard you guys, and I understand. And that was enough. And from there, Makawala had the liberty to compete and race and go all the way as far as he did. And when the old man was narrating that, he actually got emotional and went to pause the interview for about 5 minutes and then recuperate and continue. So then from his home, then we went to the primary school where he went. So that tree, when he went to school in primary school, there were not enough classrooms. So they would run, they'll alternate. This week, you're gonna be under a tree. Then the following week, you're gonna be in a classroom. So that's the tree they used to go under the class. And this one is when they were in the class, when they were in the primary school. So that's what we took pictures of him in these, some of the classrooms. So then he went to the junior school. The junior school, that's where he did his Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3. And at this junior school, we found only 2 people who were teaching there when he was there. We found a gentleman who was a coach at the time, and then a teacher. So this lady here taught mathematics. So this lady here taught mathematics, and this was the principal, and this is him. So yeah, this was the gentleman who used to coach. So this is just one of my graduate students, and this was me. So now, from the junior school, once he was done with Form 3, then he went to a brigade. So a brigade in Botswana, it's a technical school. They are almost in most villages. Those technical schools only for the most part attract students who didn't do well in junior school, couldn't go to high school. Then they get absorbed into the brigade. And their primary focus brigades really teach technical skills to service the community. So you could do carpentry, you could do joinery, you could do bricklaying, just a couple of those. So then, because he had not done well in junior school, he went to the cattle post, stayed there for a year, then went to Nswazi Brigade, where he was doing carpentry and joinery. So when he gets there, then he meets this gentleman. His name is Molofo. So he, not training in coaching or anything, but notice that Makawala is talented. He then goes online, Google stuff, like if you run 400 meters, what time are you supposed to train at? And does his own research and finds out, okay, you can run this time. And you could see, and it's also in the book, some of the goals that he was setting were very unrealistic. Like you say, okay, I think, especially at the time, so I can do a 400 in about 43. Yeah, that's Makawala's personal best now, but at the time was completely not possible. Then he helps him run, do very well. But then the coach realizes that this guy's level of talent and performance is beyond him. Then he plans, so what can I do to ensure that this guy continues with his talent? Then he reaches out to a club in Francistown, the nearby town, Franklin Athletics Club, and there is a military club. They have coaches, all facilities, and then reach out to him, and then he hands him over to this club, and the club trains him. And that's where he's still a member of that club today. And that's where his athletic career was completely transformed. There you'll see, I'll play a video that shows some of it. So now, after this coach, a lot happened in between. He trained with another coach in Botswana, then moved to train in Senegal, Dakar. There's a high performance center in Dakar, Senegal, with a coach called Kofi. And then went to Jamaica to train with Glenn Mills in the Racers Club. It was good. His performance was good, but not great. It was good. He was running good times, qualifying. Actually, in Jamaica, he ran good time enough to qualify for the London 2012 Olympic Games. Then after the London Olympic Games, he went back home, then united with this gentleman here, Coach Justice Dipel, based at the University of Botswana. So with him, and I'll let him speak a little bit about his philosophy about discipline and things like that. That's what really completely transformed Isaac Makwala's career. So I'm going to play a video. I escaped from this. Damaris, you may need to be instrumental here. I need to see the video. Yeah, that's fine. How do I drag it there?
You have to stop share that and then you share the video.
Oh, yes. And then where do I find it?
You go share.
Do I share or I just drag it?
No, you go. I don't. You just do you stop sharing? You go here.
Yes.
Now go share screen and then you share that the video screen.
That's, oh no.
Yeah, the video screen.
This one.
Yeah. So share.
Can exit here.
You stop. And then you share again. You share again.
Oops, no, I'm sharing the wrong. What is the
It's okay.
this one?
I think so. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's what it is. Mhm.
Before that is we went, it was like athletic on the mat. Isaac Makwala, let's go for Africa Superman. So I think
he was at the track and he was warming up ahead of that 200 and he said he felt okay. He spoke to one of our reporters this morning and he said he was ready to race. His doctors in the team said he was ready to race.
after they refused me to run that 100, I thought my seat was forward.
Didn't take his place in the final of the pool. He's hitting the two. What a story would be for Makawala.
Okay. Okay. I can do this one, right?
And go. Okay.
Oh, stop the video.
No, stop. You can pause the video, actually. You can pause it. Yeah, you can pause it and then you stop sharing. You can you can pause it actually and then you can share that video.
Okay, thank you.
You want to share the other one?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, that was my last slide. Thank you. Is Coach Batman, did Batman make it or no? Batman, are you there?
Hey, doctor. He looks like he didn't make it. I tried to call him. I'm not sure if he's sleeping or maybe one of those. I don't know. He's not picking up my calls. Yeah.
Okay, then maybe you can speak briefly, and this could be something I have left out before we open up for questions.
Oh yeah, thank you, doctor. No, I think you covered everything basically. You know, the most important thing when I was working with Isaac, luckily I've met him before, and I've visited people that I've worked with him. You know, I mean, it's there in the book that I went to Dakar to go and see where he was training, and met the coaches and the managers at the center that he was at, and then basically there was few things that I think they were not in order that needed to be sorted out. And I remember when Isaac came back from the Olympics from London in 2012, and he wanted to come and train with me. You know, I had to call a meeting and then tell him, and then straight ahead I told him that if he wants to come and work with me, these are the expectations and these are the things that I will expect him to do or to change from what I've actually heard from the center in Dakar. And really, I want to be honest with you. That was the last thing I said to him. I've never really, during our 10 years working together, had to go back and say, hey, what did I say? You know, that first meeting that we had kind of really changed. We opened a new chapter, and basically from my philosophy, I believe that you need to train the athletes. You need to train the person before you can get the athlete out of that person. You know, if you get a better person, you'll have a better athlete. So really, I think with Isaac, that's really what worked for us. You know, he had to change as a person in order for him to be able to perform to the highest level that he is at the moment. So and that's been my belief across the board that it's supposed to be the person first before it can be the athlete. You know, and I've seen that with a lot of my athletes. And with Isaac, I mean, it's been very, very special. You know, I do have some of the things that I expect. I do have some of, you know, I say things that I really expect from the athlete if they want to achieve the highest level. And then, like I always to say, my athletes, it's a two-way street. You gotta put in the work in order for you to perform. You know, I'm there to drive, but you're there to make sure that where we are going, it's the right direction. And working with Isaac, I really have made that very special. I mean, Isaac worked with some of the top coaches in the world. In Dakar, he was working with Kofi, who was coaching some of the top athletes in the world, like Talou, and you know, Isaac worked in Jamaica with Usain Bolt's coach, and then he came back to Botswana to come and work with me. You know, I know I've said that to you, that I was kind of worried and doubting myself that this guy is coming from very, very top coaches. Will he be able to listen to me? I mean, by then I didn't have any special athlete that I can see have done an amazing performance that will convince him that I'm the same level as these top coaches. But yeah, he came. We met just the beginning of the 2012, 2013 season, and then we went on that whole season. And then we finished the season pretty well. And come the next season, that's when everything really falls into place. Isaac started to dominate, started to run some of the top times in the world. He won his first Diamond League race in 2014. You know, he set his African record in 2014, and you know, he went on and on. I mean, from 2014 up to by 2016, he was one of the top African runners. I mean, he was ranked in the top 10 in the world, or he's still ranked in the top 10 in the world of all time in the 400. So, you know, just going back to what I said, that, you know, changing him as a person, not as an athlete, have made him who he is today. You know, you have run with Isaac, Doctor. You can be you can testify to that he in terms of just behavior and discipline and all that, he was not up to scratch. But nowadays Isaac is totally a different athlete, a different person. You know, and that really have made him who he is today. And yeah, so I think it coming to work with him and being able to get him where he is, it was very special, and I'm honored to be part of his journey to make him, or to help him to be as special as he is today.
Okay, thanks,
I
Craig.
don't know.
Yeah, and also, like, one thing that I think I found fascinating, or very amazing, like great, was like what he's saying is that before they worked together, I mean, Isaac was like he would be in the news, or be told maybe to be bullying other athletes, or doing things that maybe the coach wouldn't like, and had a meeting with him and said, "If you're gonna work with me, this is the kind of behavioral standard that I'm going to expect." And Makwala completely transformed them, and his athletic career completely changed immediately. And even today, he's really an inspiration to a lot of young athletes, and in an amazing way. And even one section we talk about it on Facebook. You know, he had a very active Facebook activity, and people, you know, you can't control what people post, you know. And that was affecting him. And they sat down and said, "We're going to be off Facebook." And I think he ran his personal best, I think, 10 times within that same space when he was off Facebook for that period. So we have the statistics in the book. I don't have them right away, but it was very huge, transformative. Yeah. So, okay, about, can take questions, comments. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me on the audience?
Can you hear the person asking the question? Maybe.
Not really. I can barely hear her.
Okay.
Yes, not very clearly. It's a bit faint.
All right, no problem. I think we can be close to the computer. I first want to thank Tshepang.
Tshube, yeah.
Tshube.
Yeah.
Tshube. Yes. I want to thank you so much, to thank him so much for this wonderful presentation, because there is power in stories. I believe in that, because stories speak so much to me, because it's a documentary, it's somebody's life, it's something that happens, it's real. It's not fiction, it's not an imagination, it's somebody's life that we're talking about. And not so about the life, but the impact that life has for the community. I was so touched about the pictures that you showed, where there's a group of young men surrounding Makwala. You know, the hope, because we come from different backgrounds. We come from we have stories, I should say, that we carry with us, but unless those stories are told or shared, then there's no impact in those stories. Maybe the community members look at Makwala as just somebody in the village. But I believe by you sharing the story, not only within Botswana, not only within Africa, but internationally, just bringing the life of Makwala out to the world is just phenomenal. It's powerful. So I know maybe you may have spoken to this. I'm sorry, I was out and about a little bit. Why did you choose to do this story? It's a very basic question, but It's been there for a long time, but why did you choose to do the story, and why at this particular time that you did it? Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We should tell stories, and stories are only very impactful when they are told, and sharing that information. It's very profound. And there are a couple of reasons why I wanted to tell it. First, I felt he had a very significant that needed to be told, because also one thing that I didn't mention is that in 2006, when he joined the national team, I was in the national team, and I write about it in the book. I remember him walking to the guest house where we were camping here. He had a huge suitcase, and we were staying at a guest house, at a hotel. Like, he didn't know that in a hotel you don't bring blankets. He thought he was going to need blankets, and an arrangement had to be made for blankets to be returned. So, and I remembered seeing that happen. And then fast forward, and obviously I retired, and he continued with track. And I see him now. In 2016, I'm at the Olympic Games. I'm a sports psychologist for the team, and he's this global sensation now. 2017, he wins the Diamond League trophy. He's like really great. And I've seen this story pan out throughout. In 2018 Commonwealth Games, he wins the gold medal, and he's an inspiration to the world. And I'm like, I think this needs to be told. And that's why I wrote it. But also, I finished Michigan State in 2014 and went back home, and I was writing papers, working with labs, and doing the same sports psychology every day. And I needed something slightly different, something that I can do outside the sports psych stuff, also something to challenge myself. And I felt this was a good project to do. And yeah, and then we were able to go out with it and eventually have it completed. But also because it's a biography, so it's not, you have to kind of be honest throughout, because some things the subject won't like, some people won't like, because this is, you go to the games and you go to meetings and things come late, but you have to write and you have to tell the story and say, like, I talked about Dipu, but there was like one very significant person in Botswana whom we said that he was not organizing things properly, but we didn't want to name him by name, but we wanted to write about him. I remember very well, we just used descriptions, you know, like one senior member of the community would do this. But when the man read, he knew it was him, and he was unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. Yeah, so he knew it was him. Thank you.
Also say something. You know, for me too, but you say it's something different from sports psychology, from what you do, but I don't really quite see that difference. So I personally really admire, you know, your tenacity and your imagination and creativity to get to do something different. So I've always admired that in you, and this is just one example of a project that is really very good for the country, very good for you as a professional, but also good for Makawala and for, you know, the sports world. What I picked from the pictures is really one of the most fascinating things about the story, which is coming from a very small, remote village and making it big. And also the story of his father not wanting him to play sport. Yeah, it's one of the things that we've been writing about in Botswana sport, like amateur sport, the relationship between sport and academics, and how parents in Botswana have never, and the culture has never really valued sports the way it's valued elsewhere. And those are some of the conversations we even had in the ISYS with Karen the other day and the team. So I don't know from this, having studied at Michigan State and looked at sport the way it goes with youth, and then looking at this context where coming from, you know, a very remote area, no resources, and moving on to this kind of thing. I mean, from your experience, what can you share? Also, because you also come from an environment where it's, you know, it's far away from the capital city and things like that. Yeah.
You know, I think it's you know, it's very interesting because, like, for him, if he's like Malelejwe, it's very remote, no network. And I remember, and it's also in the book, when he was directing me where Malelejwe is. So for us to do the interview there, we agreed that, okay, he's going to go and I'll follow him. So he says, you have to tell me, to be sure that you will go, so that I can have someone come from Malelejwe, meet you at this gas station, and then you will drive with him to the place. So no network, nothing. So, and we meet and he takes me there. But if you are from like such a remote place like that, and you find yourself in a big city, you fly in business class, I think what I can say, it's more about inspiration, like every day wanting to be great and work hard and be the best at what you do. At least that's with me, and I've seen that with him also. But so what's fascinating, it's a couple of months ago, we had a project back in Malelejwe, in the small town, it's a soda ash town. So there's a mine that mines soda ash. It's a type of salt used to make windshields and other products. So then they bought some books and gave us some money to do a community project. So we drove back now, and I'm able to see him there again, post the book. And we were there for like a couple of days. And how he fit in the community is just amazing. Even the language, he spoke a bit of Sesara, the native language that they speak there. And how he feels like just a hand in a glove, he just interacts with them in an amazing way. And then we leave, and then we are flying somewhere to competitions. He flies business class, he's great. He just transitions like that. And I found it quite amazing, yeah. Yes.
I have to walk out. So thanks a lot again. This is a wonderful project. This is a wonderful story, and I really enjoyed watching it. And the picture helped to bring things to life. So thanks a lot. So I wanted to speak to the coach. I mean, he had tried coaches in different countries, and sometimes they say a prophet is never recognized in their own land, right? So he had gone out. What attracted him back to, was it justice?
Yeah, I think he can hear you. Coach, you're on spot?
Yeah, so when he came to you, what did you say drew him to you? And after going around to other countries where you were there all along, why did you go and then wander back to you? And so I was just curious about that. And this poverty to riches story is also really quite attractive there, and it's really good. So again, the same story, and I know that you told stories about the media giving him flack and all those kinds of things, and then the same story that they don't really recognize you in your own country.
Yeah.
And then to what extent did he cross that bridge, and to what extent is he an inspiration, and what are some of those things that he is intentionally doing to act like a model for other people? I will leave it.
Coach, do you respond?
Yeah, I think I want to agree with. I'm not sure I didn't get your name. That we really.
Leo.
Excuse me. Who?
Leo.
Oh, Leo. I didn't. Yeah, I want to agree with you, Leo. That I don't know if it's a culture or it's just some sort of belief that we are not that very good. So anyway, it wasn't a sort of an arrangement that when an athlete is being identified to be excelling at a certain event, they will be sent to different countries. Sometimes we have a center in Africa. We have a center for sprints and other stuff in Dakar, in Senegal, in Dakar. So when Isaac was identified, I think it was 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. He was sent to Dakar because they believe that the coach is good. It's not like they believe the coach is good, so they send him to that coach. So he trained there for a couple of years, but his performance was not getting better. They arranged and they moved him even a better coach. He worked under somebody who coached one of the top athletes in the world, Usain Bolt. And then his performance was not was getting better, but it was not very special. So he decided to come back home, and then he approached me. And by then, I was just very new into my coaching. I think, well, not that very new. Maybe I had a couple of years coaching. I had about 5-6 years now coaching. So he approached me, and then he wanted to work with me. Like I mentioned earlier, that I was doubting myself a little bit because he was coming from really top coaches. But I think the approach was the most important thing, and also really the environment contributes a lot in terms of your performance. I mean, Isaac goes home, for him going to Senegal, he had to speak French. For him to go to Jamaica, he has to speak. I don't know if they speak English in Jamaica. They speak English, but different English. So, and also maybe even the environment in terms of in terms of the food and everything else, the culture and everything. Do contribute to a lot of your how things turned out. So I think him coming back home and being able to work with a local coach and also the approach being different, because I think that's one thing that he needed to understand, that if he changed some of the things about himself, then whatever he does will be better. But whatever he does will also change and change for the better. So I think mainly I will say the approach and the culture and understanding the background. I mean, if somebody in Jamaica will not understand how somebody from Malelejwe will behave, somebody in Dakar will not understand that. But me being here, being a local, I will understand and I will know how to deal with that person. I mean, if I take somebody from Malelejwe and bring them to the US, I don't think they will cope very well, because the culture is totally different. How things are done, it's different. But here, in terms of understanding him, also, like I mentioned, luckily I was able to visit the people who worked with him before in terms of coaching, and I exactly knew what I was getting myself into. So so that helped a lot. But the bottom line, yes, I think it was the approach that worked for him, and being able to get him where he is today.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of the media, I think Dr. will respond to that. I think there was a question about the media, if I heard you very well.
Yeah, in terms of his relations with the media, and it was mostly just one journalist who was really pestering him, I think, and really followed him and wrote really not good stories. It really borders on unethical conduct. Yeah, it kind of mostly bothered on that, and there were other things that were happening that we couldn't write about, that didn't involve him directly, that we were aware of, but we couldn't make it in the book. That's why we called him Dipuo. So that, because it's not only with him, but transcends beyond him. But some of it is just implied when you read about him, about this female journalist. The other thing is, you asked whether, does he come out as a role model now? He does very well and works with a lot of organizations and with a lot of youth and empowering young people. Actually, in his village, he does donations to hospitals almost every year and other programs. So yeah, he's done that a lot. Yeah. And I think he's, by any assessment in Botswana, a really good role model to young athletes. Of course, he has a very strong sense of autonomy, really strong. Like recently, he posted something on Facebook that was very interesting. The government was taking a very strong position against him, but also taking a strong position against him was more consequential on their part, because if he just puts one post and everyone follows, so they had to kind of pause, and there was a lot of meetings, and eventually it was solved. But yeah, he shares his views. If he's not happy about something, he's not timid. Yeah. So this was a question about why did we title the book The Solo Runner? Because the title comes from him being the solo runner. And at the time, he was the only person who had raced alone. And those games, like the London 2017 World Championships, were the most watched in the history of world athletics. The tickets got, like they sell more tickets than any World Championships before. So it broke almost all records for TV, for so many things in track and field history. So that's where we got the title from. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you first, Dr. Tshube, for this really wonderful story. You know, because I mean, we talk a lot about the book, but somehow today I saw it differently. So. Yeah. So I was sitting there almost crying. So. Yeah, but I think the thing is that I could see all of us in him, you know. So it's like the story of just really a background with like really maybe some of us a very poor background, but sometimes from chaotic backgrounds. I remember the story of WE on the other day. So it's like really he represents many of us, and it's a wonderful, wonderful story to be shared. But of course, friends and colleagues have said many things. But what was that with the iconic celebration, right?
The push-up.
Yeah, the push-up. Because it would be nice to know what's the symbol, what's the symbolic.
Yeah. So immediately after he did the solo ride, because he was really healthy, he wasn't sick. That's the sad part about it. Because he was bad, but he was healthy, he was okay, he wanted to compete. Then he does the time, and then he does the push-ups to show what that is, that I'm really okay. That's where it comes from.
I remember that. And he probably quite alone.
Yes, yeah. He was alone. And also, and this is also in the book, with that when they informed him that you can race alone, I think he had like about 2 hours to compete. So they told him you're gonna race alone. Yeah. And typically you would know that you're gonna compete way before. Yeah. And you know he was just gonna be alone. So the issue was not the time. They gave him the time. You need to run this time. So the issue was not the time, because he had done that several times. And that season he was, and he still is the only person in history to run under 20 and under 44 in a space of like an hour. And he had done that in 2017. So he was really fit. So when they showed him the time, he wasn't worried about the time. He was worried about just the pressure of dealing with it, the stress that he has gone through. Like, do I want to do this? And he approached his coach, and the coach said, if you want to do it, I'll be in for you for it. And then he went in and then did the push-ups.
Yeah, but it kind of fits one of the sayings that we had, you know, I'm here not to be the evidence.
Yes, myself, yeah, it's very well.
He was racing against himself.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, colleagues online, do you have any question?
Thank you. My name is Eliud from Kenya, and thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. The story is really inspiring. I don't really have a question, but just to share some learning that I picked from the story, that again, passion can really help one defy so many odds. And I could just see from Makwala's story that I think his passion really drove him. And instead of looking at the obstacles, he was looking at more of the opportunities. And I like the statement he gave in 2017 in London, that he didn't go there to beat other people. He just went there to, I think, to compete or something, to compete against himself. So yeah. he got like a platform. So once you get a platform, you don't bother about the obstacles around you or whatever else is going on there. It's a space for you to shine and just come out of the obstacles you've been through, and now the passion carrying you over. So I really like that. It's quite a learning for our young people here in Africa who have different talents, different passions, over and above the academic excellence. And if they just pursue and become resilient and follow their instincts, I think they should be able to reach at this kind of stage, the elite stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing also just to share was, so there's a part that was said, my heart is white. He was doing an interview, I think it was a BBC journalist, one of the journalists. And right after the solo run, and he says, I'm so happy that they allowed me to compete and my heart is white. So then when you say my heart is white, so he was trying to translate, and there's a Setswana expression. I think it's an idiom left. Yeah. So I took that and went to a Setswana linguist at the University of Professor and he explained it very well, and we put it in the book and we explain it like from a proper linguist. Then I also went to a good linguist who's Kalanga, because that's where Makawala's tribe, so he can also explain. So yeah, we have it where you say moyo wangu nchena, like when you are happy, you say moyo wangu nchena. So he did a direct translation, and people in Botswana was like the hashtag my heart is white. Even today, people say when you're happy about something, you say my heart is white, and hashtag my heart is white, and was all over, and it took very interesting. Okay. Yes, sir. Francis, do you want to say something?
Yes. Thank you, Doctor. Very inspiring. My name is Gishuki from Kenya. The story really is quite an intrigue of resilience that this young man from a local village, and I like the story that one time he carried his blankets because he didn't know what to do. He thought that's the best way to do it. But I think the most interesting learning around it is the fact that sports facilitate our global citizenship. And more often than not, this is not taken by many of us, and sometimes even the institutions that are supposed to facilitate this. And Doctor, I was just thinking about if you had to write a second book about Makawala, what would it be? What do you focus in? What sort of results have come out over the last, since you wrote this book? And the perspective that you have picked from his story, and coming from an African perspective, I do enjoy the fact that we are really looking at our humble beginning, and all our humble beginning, not all pick it up to become giants of change and facilitators of change in the world. So looking at the story around Makawala and what you look at into the coming years, very interesting to see your second book.
Yeah, I never thought about the second book, but one thing that I think would be very profound would be, because following the launch of the book, we did a book tour, and it was really amazing when we interacted with people from all corners. We did a whole national tour across the country. And one kid we met in Kasai. So people followed us on social media and other platforms, and they knew where we would be and that they would wait. So this boy read that the book is 350 pula. So the book read that for 3 pula 50 10. Like instead of $350, it's $35, something. Yeah. So then the boy looked for the money for this 3 pula 50 10. And so in the tour, you would only take a picture with Makawala if you bought the book. So the boy looked for 3 pula 50 10, found it, and wanted a picture. He comes, he first observes and realizes, no, it's only those who are buying books that take pictures. Then he tries to buy the book. And we take a picture of it, and we notice that the boy was really serious, that he wanted to buy the book with the 3+50, and he really wanted the picture with Makwala, and was very inspirational. And Makwala instead gave him a copy of the book for free, took a picture with him, and we put on our page, and it also very, very inspirational. So it's some of those inspirational stories that would make the second part of the book. Also, because even though the book has sections about Tokyo 2020 winning the medal, but it only just ends there. So there isn't much details post that. So that's something that would make sections of the book. Thank you.
Additional ideas about the documentary.
Yes, we've thought about that, and we've looked at some other avenues for documentary. But also, I think we also have to be alive to some of the challenges that, if you're in Africa, also. And I'll just give you a simple story with writing the book, because I wanted to write the book, and I had the budget to write, and I moved about, and I assumed that no, I'll get a publisher. It's just going to be easy, and then it's going to be published, and we move on. And when now we had the book at a good stage, I emailed a couple of publishers, and then they say Africa. No major publisher was really keen on it, until I found someone in Botswana who was willing, but at our cost. And then we agreed, okay, we're going to publish. It's okay, I can cancel it. Okay. So then we're ready. We're gonna. Oh, people are going.
Hello.
Oh, you are here now. You want me to leave?
Yeah, you are now on Teams.
Oh, please just leave.
Hello, can you hear me now? Yeah. So now, okay, with the budget to publish and we're ready, then the company that publishes says, okay, that's good. So then I had a lot of books that I was reading that I had bought in the US. So I knew the type of paper, the cover, everything. So I go to the graphic designer, we need just this paper here. Then the guy looks at me and smiles, you spend too much in the US. There's no way you can get this paper anywhere in Botswana or in South Africa. You have to order it, it will take 6 months. Then I said, okay, which paper do you have? Then he moves around, he looks, he finds, okay, this is the paper. If you want to print, if you want the book to be ready in about 4 weeks, this is the paper that we're going to use. So some of those challenges sometimes that what make it difficult to tell the stories, because you have to be prepared to spend money on it for it to come out. But we were privileged also because we had, yes.
I was thinking that that's another important aspect of the story, right? Normally, the Westerners come and write stories about Africa.
Yeah.
This problem, until the story of the hunt is taught by the lion, the hunter always comes out the hero.
Yeah.
You know, we tell our own
Stories, yes, yeah.
Aspect of it.
Yeah.
That might not come out in an African.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So that's another
Aspect of it. Yeah. So the second book should include this. Okay. I think from our part, I don't know if there's anything Coach JD wants to say, and then we can conclude unless there are questions or comments. Coach, anything you want to say in conclusion?
No, I think we said it all, and I want to thank everybody here tonight. Hello, Labs. I can hear your voice at the back there, and
hey, Justice.
and
good to see you.
hi, how you doing?
Good. Yeah.
So just want to thank everybody to give us the platform to present and share the story about Isaac and how it all came out and then all that, and then thank you very much. I mean, I can see a lot of people from Kenya. I think he's very famous there. He's more famous in Kenya than in Botswana. I think he's got more people following him in Kenya than in Botswana. So, you know, very, very inspired, and I really say thank you very much. And yes, Doctor, here it is, the idea, the second book. I know we are in a plan to do the children's book and all that, but yeah. So it's just to say thank you, everybody, for it's almost 1 o'clock a.m. here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep, but but yeah, it's just to say that thank you very much for giving us the platform to come and share the story of Isaac Makwala and inspire you and inspire more people and all those who are listening. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Yeah. Lastly, yeah, like Coach mentioned, we working on a children's version of the book, something very small for kids to. Yeah. And the book is available on Amazon. If you want to get a copy, we highly encourage you to get a copy. Thanks a lot. For me, it was very inspirational, you know, doing the interview with his parents and across the country, and it was really fulfilling and amazing in many ways. Thank you. Huh?
Would you like to maybe animate it?
Yeah, we've thought about like an animated version and just like a high school type of kid to read. Like if you are doing Form 4, Form 5, that you can read with no animation. Then just a small animation that you can read for your child.
Right.
Okay, you. Yes, that's true.
So consider that.
Okay, so okay, I think we'll talk more about it. Thank you. Yeah.
So
We're good, thank you. Yeah.
I think it's rather we show our face because you can't close them. Okay, we just wanted to show our face here in closing. I don't know how to thank you, Dr. Tshube, for this very wonderful presentation. It's as we've been using the word inspirational. I mean, that's the word. I don't know how else we can describe this talk, but this was very wonderful. And we, knowing that you're an alum of MSU, makes it extra. We didn't do a proper introduction at the beginning, so we could have heard all these details about you, but thank you because you mentioned it. But so you know, just so you know that Dr. Tshube here is an alumnus of Michigan State University, and welcome back home again.
That's great.
So what else? I want to thank everyone, our audience here. Thank you so much for joining us. Our online audience, we want to thank you so much as well, because I'm looking at the time in Kenya, it's 1:34. I probably think in Botswana, it could be more. Is it 8? Is it 6?
Difference.
Okay, it's late. Should we say that? It's late, but we want to thank you so much. Mr. Akanga, Mr. Gichuki, and then we have our Justice Dipeba. Thank you so much, the coach, for joining us. We know it's a sacrifice. It's not easy to be awake after midnight, and especially sitting to listen, or, you know.
Where's Olumuye?
Olumuye is a student. Omez, am I right or wrong? You're a student at MSU?
You're right.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. He was with us last time. That's how I know him. And then Jose, thank you for staying until the end. So we are concluding it here, and we hope to see you back on October 6th for our virtual tea time presentation. It's going to focus on women agribusiness. We discuss different topics, so it's going to be very different. It's going to be along the lines of agribusiness and women entrepreneurship. We hope you can be able to join us. It's 4 to 6 usually, so we made time for this special one because our guests are here. So we had to make this in person, and I think we tried making it hybrid. It took time at the beginning, but thank you so much for staying with us. And then tomorrow, I wanted to make an announcement for those of us who are here within Michigan State University. We have a welcome picnic. Please don't miss out. It's annual, and we welcome all members of the community, visitors, friends, students, faculty, to this one time welcome event that is just once a year. Please don't miss out because it's not going to happen again 2022, 2023. I think we've shared the flyers, but I will share it with you in case, are we having you here tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps if your schedule allows, you can join us for that.
Please share it by
I will share the flyer again.
time.
Yes, it's going to be 3 to 6, but I'll share that. We don't have to do that here. But other than that, we want to close it here. Please, our friends from international locations, have a great morning, or is it a good night for you? We'll see you again, hopefully next time, but thank you so much.